In southwestern Wisconsin lies an area called the Uplands. Virtually untouched by glaciers, it's a land of gentle rolling hills, fertile farmland, and ancient rock formations. This is the setting which Alex Jordan, a man of vision and many talents, chose for the jewel of his creation, the house on the rock. As a young man in the early 40s, Jordan dreamed of a retreat where he'd quietly pursue his work as sculptor artisan. In the midst of all this natural beauty stands Deershelter Rock, Christ's Sentinel, rising a majestic 60 feet above the wooded Wyoming Valley. Jordan chose its lofty pinnacle as the site of his retreat, an airy, commanding spectacular views. It would be a place where he could work in close harmony with the land he loved. A truly remarkable man, Alex Jordan built the house of his dreams with his own hands, carrying the locally quarried stones in baskets strapped to his back. He became known as the Mountain Goat. The architecture of the house is natural. Working without blueprints, Jordan allowed the contour of the rock to dictate the flow of the rooms. First, he built a studio workshop, but this was only the beginning. Room after room followed, and at last Jordan decided to share his creation with the public. Then as time went by, he added more attractions. Alex Jordan, the artist, is also a collector of collections. And today, visitors who come to view the house on the rock will leave with much, much more. Thousands upon thousands of sensory impressions. Indeed, there's something here for everyone. A thrill of anticipation takes hold as you ascend the 350-foot flying bridge toward the original structure. You encounter this gallery of the bells with its wall of solid rock. Then suddenly, you're a bird in flight, soaring high above the tree-clad Wyoming Valley. You've just entered the Infinity Room, the only room of its kind in the world, and so called because it appears to go on forever. Alex Jordan designed it more than 40 years ago. It was built in 1985, and true to his original vision, this marvelous room exists solely for the purpose of viewing the gentle beauty of the Wisconsin countryside. A miracle of engineering, the Infinity Room is 218 feet long, cantilevered high over the woodlands, securely anchored with concrete. It boasts 3,264 individual window panes. It looks and feels as airy as a tree branch. This is a place for quiet meditation. Take a leisurely stroll and ponder the serene countryside all around you. Feel the floor sway eerily beneath you as you survey the rolling hills, farms, rocks, and the profusion of pines, maples, hickories, and mighty oaks. Whatever time of year, whatever time of day, you'll feel at one with nature as you view the wooded valley from this lofty perch. There's nothing like it this side of infinity. As you cross the many thresholds, you'll find room after cozy room filled with the unique and the fascinating. First, the garden room with its natural beauty, the soothing sound of water, and an automated music machine, one of many you'll see on our tour. Then a library of antique books, fully 3 stories high. The grotto room, with a lovely carved wood statue of St. Joseph and the Christ Child. The banquet room, with its enormous trestle table. The tea room, adorned with treasures of alabaster, ivory, cinnabar, and rosewood. On reaching the rooftop sun deck, you'll find yourself surrounded by a breathtaking panorama of the Wyoming Valley. A view that's dominated by the age-old percussion rock. Re-entering the house, you arrive at the music room, where you'll see displays of Japanese kabuki dolls and the stunning Four Seasons stained glass windows. Faithful Bauer & Coble reproductions of the originals by Louis Comfort Tiffany. All through the house, there are Bauer & Coble masterpieces, stained glass lamps of intricate design and extraordinary beauty, all inspired by Tiffany. Then as you exit the house, notice the light shining through old church windows. Our next stop is at the Mill House, which is dominated by what is probably the world's largest fireplace. It's patterned after an open hearth in a Scottish castle, which had a secret room deep within its walls. This table, made from a giant bellows, holds a collection of paperweights gathered from around the world. Here there are also collections of mechanical banks, bisque dolls, taxidermy, antique weapons, suits of armor, forerunners of the huge collections you'll see later on. Now you step back 100 years in time as you enter the streets of yesterday. We start at Grandma's house, a cozy spot with an old-fashioned kitchen where Grandma baked her delicious pies. Of course, there's a toy shop featuring dolls for little girls and equally appealing treasures for little boys. Here's the fire station, complete with Dalmatian dog. The sheriff's office, with its wanted posters and the grisly remains of a couple of infamous scoundrels. The barber shop has a red plush chair and all the necessary paraphernalia. The apothecary shop offers the latest in patent medicines and therapeutic devices. Lorenzo's clock shop carries an amazing array of turn-of-the-century timepieces. Herr Holzkopf makes puppets, ship's figureheads, and carousel animals in his wood-carving studio. Here's the fabulous Emporium of J.P. Richmond, purveyor of elegant china, crystal, and silverware. He's the richest man in town. This is his residence, complete with carriage house. The lamp shop carries lights requiring whale oil and kerosene, but it also features the newfangled incandescent light bulb, which shines so richly through stained glass lampshades. And at Phelps Brothers, here's another innovation, a horseless carriage. What will they think of next? Pausing at the end of the street, we encounter the Peter H. Burno, a mighty steam traction tractor, weighing 39 tons. In the early days of this century, it traveled from farm to farm and pulled a 12-bottom, 14-inch plow through the fields. We are now entering another world of fantasy and magic, the music of yesterday. The Gladiator, a giant calliope conceived by Alex Jordan, was the House on the Rock's first large music machine, and there are many more. Entering the theater lobby, you can imagine yourself in the New Orleans of bygone days, captured in the Absinthe House player piano, an elegant coffee shop with its espresso machine of gleaming brass. And the boudoir of Madame Kitty Dubois, with its brass bed, sumptuous appointments, and the flocked red walls one associates with her profession. But here's a grim reminder that all was not pleasure in old New Orleans. This horse-drawn hearse is a real antique, unearthed and restored by Alex Jordan. The Seeburg Koinola music machine has 3 keyboards and a host of percussion instruments. We come now to the Blue Room, an automated concert arrangement of musical instruments in an opulent Baroque chamber. It's one of several orchestrions designed by Alex Jordan and operated by Air Pneumatics. Here's another, the Franz Joseph, made by House on the Rock artisans. It's a masterpiece of precision craftsmanship. The Mikado, an unforgettable musical masterpiece, also designed by Alex Jordan. It runs by music paper rolls and auxiliary cylinders. This forerunner of our modern-day jukeboxes has a selection of 24 wax cylinders. Just listen to Caruso. In passing the little streets of yesterday, we see delightful reminders of bygone days in all their fascinating detail. The Aida is an antique music machine from Bonn, Germany, circa 1880. It has 12 selections, including age-old favorites of the German people. Another orchestrion designed by Alex Jordan, the eclectic Red Room, almost defies description. Feast your eyes on the crystalline splendor of the many chandeliers. Imagine the Emperor Napoleon with his bride Josephine and the lion and tiger pulling a czarist sleigh to the tune of Tchaikovsky's Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. We're now approaching the most spectacular display of all. The world's largest carousel. More than 10 years in the making, this is certainly the most extraordinary carousel in existence. With 269 fanciful figures from all over the world. Some call it the Stradivarius of carousels. It's 80 feet in diameter and 35 feet high, with 20,000 lights shining from 182 chandeliers and crowned with 36 peacocks. The room itself is filled with whimsy, watched over by a multitude of angels. And here's a trio of steam traction tractors, the Buttercup, the Firefly, and the Snowflake. Show engines like these generated power for the carnivals and carousels of yesteryear.